Good morning, guys, and welcome to the show. Fernando,
welcome to the show.
Today is part 3 of the JVC KW Z1000W. In this part, we're going to show you how to install it in a car, meaning the back chassis, the front chassis, bringing the two together, adding in the screws and where they go, how to make all the adjustments to have it line up in your dash. And for that, we'll be using the Camaro Lab. Pretty exciting. So let's get to it. To start with, we have the main double din body. As you can see, it sticks out about an inch, and the screen will come in and attach to it. Some applications, this is going to need to come out further. And for that, you'll be using these brackets here. They're designed to clean up the look when you need to move this out. To do that, there's a door here and a door here. Pry up on them, and they'll come off. Behind are some Phillips head screws. Remove the screws, the unit over. Remove the 2 screws on the bottom. Remove the 2 screws at the back of the chassis as well, so that's 4 screws on the bottom. That, as you can see, will loosen this up. Pull it until you see the holes appear, and then replace those 4 screws. Flipping the unit back over, there's 2 screws here that need to be removed. In your box, you got a bag that look like this. It has some screws that you can see through it. Inside of that bag are 2 brackets that you need. Remove those brackets, but leave all the screws in the bag. What you'll find are these guys. They're little L brackets. On one end, you'll notice a little tooth. That little tooth will line up in the bottom here. Set these in place so they sit like this. And then replace the 4 screws that you took out. Lastly, take your clips, start at the top, push down, and now you have the finished look. As you can see, this will allow the screen to stick out way further. We've added a whole nother inch or so to it to help clear the dash. For our installation, we'll be leaving it in the recessed position. To install the screen onto this, there are certain locations for screws to be added. It's much easier to show you them here than in the car. The bag of screws we talked about previously with the L brackets are what we're going to be needing in order to attach the screen. The screen comes pre-angled so that when the unit slides on, it exposes this area here where all the screws are going to go. There are 6 screw holes provided on here for you to attach the unit together. There's 2 here on the top, 2 here on this, as well as there's 2 on the bottom here and here. The threads for these are actually part of this unit. There's pass-throughs located here to get to those bottom screws. When bringing the 2 units together, this is the input for the screen to activate it. So as these 2 units come together, you gently push them and you'll feel the tension that this has as it seats in place. Just gently push it together. With the 2 units together, you can see the 4 holes here and the 2 holes down there. Depending on how this is mounted in the dash, these 2 screw holes here closest to the unit can be difficult to get to. I like to concentrate on these 2 here in the front as well as these 2 down here in the bottom. I do also strongly recommend using a screwdriver to attach these. With my 4 screws in place, the units are now firmly secured next to one another. If you do have the opportunity to get these back screws, definitely put them in. Next, locate this piece. This is the pretty trim panel that's going to cover up this silver bracket assembly. This is also the unit that is going to unlock the radio and allow it to power up. This has to be attached into the unit for this screen to turn on. If you've tried to turn it on and it's not turning on, you didn't put this in. This is also where those 2 black screws are going to go. With this in place, it gives it a nice finished look. The screen is much easier to move now. You'll also notice these 2 screws here. There's 2 on this side as well as 2 on the other side. What those are used for is to adjust the up and down of the screen itself. With those screws removed, I also recommend pulling off this top piece of plastic because it sticks to the mount and makes it hard to slide. Now the screen will move freely up and down. You can have it go to a maximum height to where it is level with the bottom of the double din or anywhere in between. There are several stops along the way. For this installation, we have the screen up as high as possible. Once in the car, this will be the orientation of our screen. We will be able to move it to better aim it at me, the driver, but it needs to go up as high as it can to clear the gear shifter in the car. We also need to remove the screen back off because of the way we're going to be doing the installation. To attach the radio into our kit, locate the other bag of screws. This particular radio uses a fine thread screw, and that's what's in the bag. Some kits you're going to find come with screws, but they're a coarse thread, which will cross thread into this if used, so make sure you use the screws that come with your radio. Attach the bracket to the side. This one, as you can see, could be slid up or down. You may have to do multiple attempts to get this right into the kit because the radio has to be attached to the brackets installed into the dash. The front bezel will go over it, and then we are going to attach our screen. Depending on how your car's laid out, you may or may not have to do that. In some cases, you can actually build the whole kit on the bench, take it into the car, and screw it into place. But most of the time, you're going to end up having to do something like this. Line your screws up and tighten them down. For this, we're going to add just 2 screws here to the top. We can get our depth right, and then we'll add the 2 screws to the bottom. Check both sides to make sure they're equal distance. Let's head into the car and start our test fitting process. In the car, the area we're talking about is here. How far does it press up against your dash kit? You want to make sure that it presses in and snaps into place and that this isn't causing it to bulge out. In this case, we need to move it back just a hair more because these are just like we had to press really hard. So we'll make that adjustment and add in our 2 extra screws. In part 1, we took a look at the main harness as well as the GPS antenna, the hands-free microphone, and the USB cable and explained what they all did. If you'd like to know more about these cables, by all means, please go back and check out part 1 where we explain what each one of the colors does. In this installation, we're going to be integrating them into the iData RR2 kit. All the wire colors of the harness are identical to this radio, so essentially it is a color for color installation. We do need to head over to the laptop to flash the module to our radio. To flash your RR or RR2 module, head over to Maestro's webpage and download the Web Link Updater. It's a desktop app that makes it super easy to flash the module. You are going to need the make of the radio as well as the serial number that can be located on the box and also the top of the radio. It's going to ask you a bunch of questions. All you have to do is simply answer them. Flash by vehicle, year, make, model, the steering wheel your car has, brand of radio. Here's where you're going to type in that information. KW Z. As you're typing, it narrows the field down. Type in your serial number. Located on the end of the box, you'll notice these cool UPC codes. Over here in the far corner is where the number that you're looking for is located. The number matches the microprocessor in the radio. If you get them wrong, the unit is not going to work properly. So you saw my number, it wouldn't matter because you have to have the number for the microprocessor match what is in this. Select the firmware. The kit in this case is the Cam 1. You can add a radar detector to it, and that can be controlled from the screen of the radio if you're using the RR2. It's a pretty cool feature. On this page is going to ask you a bunch of questions such as, do you want to retain OnStar? Depending on your make, model, year of car, they're going to be different. I have a factory amplifier. I do not want to use OnStar. Climate controls. I do not want to use my USB media player. Steering wheel controls, yes. Continue. Steering wheel buttons, you can go in and customize them any way you like. On my kit, it also has 4 switches that can be controlled that are called MPO. There's outputs on the RR2 for that. That can be really nice. If there's anything you'd like to change, you can change it here. When you're done, select continue. This takes us to the home page where it gives you an overview of everything you're done. Read over it, make sure it's what you wanted. If it isn't, you can come over to the sidebar here and go back and adjust anything. If everything's the way you want it, select flash. Another nice feature about the software is here where it says installation guide. If you click on it, it'll give you the most current and up-to-date installation software for your vehicle. Scroll down. This particular car, it'll tell you how to get the dash kit and all that apart. But the most important page is the wiring diagram. In this page, it will go through and it'll tell you what all the wire colors on the side of the RR are so that you can match them up to your JVC and all the harnesses that need to be used and retained for the installation. With the brain flashed, wire up your harness. We've added in our 2 bottom screws. This is primed and ready to get into the car. When installing the GPS antenna, something that I see a lot of people get wrong is it doesn't need to be on the outside of the car, and it doesn't need to be on top of the dash. It can see through plastic and glass. In this case, putting it located here in the dash where the center speaker is, or over here to the side, is a great location. In certain cars, there's plenty of room. A nice location is over here in the corner. Once you pull out the A-pillar, you can put the GPS antenna there underneath the dash. Bluetooth microphone, A-pillar where it meets is good here. One of my favorites is over here in this dip right outside of the area of your visor. With everything in place and the dash snap back on, it's time to slide the radio into place. This is why this comes down like this, so that it makes it easy for you to see as you're sliding that into the dash. Just like on the workbench, gently press it into place, give it a little wiggle, and then add in your screws. Now add in your black plastic beauty trim / radio unlock panel. With the radio mounted into place, put your hands on the top here and push it forward till you find the right height for you to see it. Now it's time to turn it on and make sure that it works. Go through and check all your boxes and select finish. Go through the setup process that we showed you in part 2 to pair up your phone and get your Android Auto or Apple CarPlay working. And test all your buttons. Your volume up, your volume down. If you have a backup camera, check that. Make sure it works. Make sure your backup sensors are working. Make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to. Test your Bluetooth mic. One of the cool features of this installation is that we use the RR, which is going to give us a bunch of on-screen controls now. Let's take a look at those. Climate control. This will allow us to adjust our air conditioner. We can control our temperature from here. AC, fan speed, AC max. If we have seat heaters, they'll also be controlled here. Vehicle information screen. This will tell us our tire pressure. We're in park, drive, reverse, battery voltage, as well as if there's a check engine light, it will come on, tell us what it is, allow us to reset it if we would like. We also have a custom gauge page. We have different choices for what we want our gauges to be, and we have 2 presets for those. One of the most popular, of course, is the 0 to 60 timer. If you go into system, OEM setup is now available to us. We have certain controls that were in the factory radio are now in the aftermarket radio. Vehicle features, vehicle settings, lighting, power locks, remote unlock and starting, restoring vehicle settings. These are all retained and controlled if using the RR or RR2 on your radio. You also have certain features that are available to you in the Maestro settings. This is where your gauges are that you can set up, climate control. So if you don't want the climate to come on every time you hit your fan speed, you can turn that off so that it doesn't switch the screen over. And of course you get the cool, ooh yeah, nice. Alright guys, that brings us to the conclusion of this series of videos on the JVC KW Z1000W. Now, everything you need to know about the radio is at your hands. You can go forth and have a bunch of fun with the radio. We hope you enjoy this radio as much as we do. And with that, Fernando, if you please.
On to the next one, guys.
You guys have a great night as always. We'll see you later next time.
Bye.
Bye.